2 months ago, my GF was essayed. It was done in a park. She didn't want to report it and went into a full breakdown, wouldn't speak to police, go to hospital, etc. I couldn't force her, so I just stayed with her. She was, obviously, in a really shit state since, and I've been with her, by her side, listening to her, helping her. We went to therapy, and she knows I'm there for her. She has a history of depression, and I've been really worried. Last week, we found out she was pregnant. I was abroad for 2 months before the essay on work and came back early to care for her. So the baby definitely isn't mine. She is 100% sure it's the assaulters. So we had a discussion. She is a devout Catholic. We initially decided on an uninstallation, but after she spoke to her mother, she has decided to keep the baby, saying that isn't the baby's fault. I flat out told her that I would not help raise a baby of a guy who essayed her. She cried and begged me not to leave. I told she is the one making the choice. Either she keeps the baby and I leave, or she uninstalls the baby and I stay. I would not let this go. She didn't want either of those things to happen. So I told her we were done. I feel like crap. Was I wrong? Update 1. I'll post the update first, since there has been some change since I last posted. Then I'll respond to some general points made from the last thread and the ton of PMs I received. Yesterday, I received a call from my GF. She was crying, and she begged me to listen to her. I told her that I still care for her, and that I'll obviously listen to what she has to say. She told me that a few days after I told her we were done, she called up her mother to talk about this. Apparently, what happened before was that she was pretty much decided on uninstalling. But then when she spoke to her mother told her that under no account should she uninstall, and that I was actually manipulating her to do so. Her mother went on to say that if she uninstalled the child, she would no longer consider my GF as her daughter. After I left her, my GF called her mom up to talk about what went on. My GF said that she desperately wanted to uninstall the baby, and her mother again said that if she does so, this is the last time they will ever speak again. My GF said she broke down on the phone, and her mother kept asking her what she will do. The conversation then ended when my GF said she didn't know. Then she started texting. After a few hours of thinking, my GF sent her mom a text saying she was going to uninstall. She was then blocked. My GF then called me and told me everything. She will be having an uninstallation in 3 weeks. I discussed this with my GF, and we both completely agreed that I had not manipulated her in any way, and that she appreciated that I put my foot down, because had I not, she would have had a baby who would remind her of the worst time of her life. Her words, not mine. She further went on to say that I am the best thing that has ever happened to her, and that she knew that even if she no longer had a mom, if she had me, she could get through this. I broke down at this point. I love her so much. In truth, I probably would have gone back to her and raised the baby with her, even though I knew I'd resent it. I made the original thread to get some backing rather than anything, to see if I had made the right decision. I'm so relieved things had turned out the way they have. Also, screw any mother who places religion over their own child. Friggin' lunatics. Now to respond to some of your points from the last thread. 1. No. My GF did not cheat on me. I am almost certain about this. Not only because she had the conscience of a fragile angel, but also because we both know each other's schedules really well, and we often talk to friends who can corroborate timings. Moreover, her roommate took photos of my GF after she came home assaulted. It's not just rough intimacy, as some of you dicks put it. 2. I don't give a rat's arse if you think uninstallation is a sin or the killing of a baby. Come and raise the baby, or give us money to raise the baby, or hire us alive and made to tend to my GF's every need while she pregnant if you're so sanctimonious. Talk the talk, then walk the walk, you wanking tit baboons. 3. My GF was absolutely clear she wanted to raise the baby, probably influenced by the mom. 4. Thanks for all the people telling me I did the right thing. It was really difficult. I'm very glad it turned out the way it has though. 5. To the people who PM'd me telling me I'm a monstrous baby killer, I fail to see what my hobbies have to do with this issue. Update 2. I was hoping to post here again after the uninstallation, still scheduled for 2 weeks' time. But I thought I should provide an update on some recent events from a mother from the pits of Satan's rectum. On Saturday, I answered my door and stood face to face with 2 police officers. They asked me if I was who I was, and I replied I was. They then said they were looking for my GF. I called her over, and the police officer said that he needs to have a word with her. The officers then split, one taking the GF to the living room, we let them in, and the other took me into my bedroom. The officer who took me started asking me questions about how long GF had been here, if she had any contact with anyone else, if she had left the house at all, and a few other questions. I answered, and then asked what this was about, but the officer just said they received a report to check in on GF. I asked who reported, and the officer said he couldn't say. After a while, the other officer was done, and they both left. The moment they left, my GF told me that she was outrightly asked if she was in danger and if I had been hurting her. She was also asked if she was being held against her will. She said no to everything, of course. She said that the police received a call from her mother saying she might be in danger and that I could be abusive her. I was fucking livid. I immediately said I was going to press charges against her. For what? I don't know. Harassment probably? My GF begged me to not and said that it would all just blow over and that she just needs time to calm down. WTF? She sent police to my house to get me arrested. How is that sane thinking? I could lose my job if I was arrested and charged. What the hell is she thinking? I told GF that if the mother does anything like this again, I will definitely press charges. So the GF decides on Sunday to talk to the mom to not do anything like this again. They had a conversation for about 2 minutes, then I start hearing sobs. Immediately, I walked into the room, saw my GF was crying, still holding the phone against her ear. I plucked the phone from her hand and held her for a bit as I heard, "Hello?" from the phone. Then I put it on me and said, "You're a disgrace of a mother," and hung up. Then I held the GF for what felt like an hour before we started talking. Apparently, the mother was telling GF how if she continues with the uninstallation, she will never see the mother again, or her brother, or her deceased father, who is in heaven, even though he died a drink violent alcoholic who beat GF. But hey, repent your sins at death, am I right? Because GF would be going to damnation. I told GF that if she was going to hell, then she should save me a seat, and we'd be nice and toasty together. I love her smile. What do you think, if anything, should I do about the mother? No doubt my words to her will have some reactions. Response to some people from previous threads and PMs after thread was locked. 1. Uninstallation was never an option. GF was adamant she wanted to raise the baby, influenced by her mother. And if you suggest adoption anyway, then you truly do not understand just how taxing a normal pregnancy is, let alone one dipped in a beautiful cocktail of assault depression. 2. You can believe my GF cheated on me if that makes you feel better about your lives, I suppose. Just FYI, the pictures and roommates' report showed she had a bloodied nose, black eyes, cuts and bruises against her arms, hands and knees, torn coat and top, bruises around her neck. Cheating, right? Edit. 3. My GF and I are still going to therapy about all of this. Update 3. I just wanted to update folk on this whole saga. A few days ago, the uninstallation was carried out. During the weeks beforehand, my GF went to a counselor and talked to a nurse about why she wanted an uninstallation. She was also tested for any STIs. She's clear. She went ahead with the uninstallation after getting the all clear. A few days ago, it was successfully carried out. They went for the surgical uninstallation method, which involved using a vacuum to suck the pregnancy out. GF said it was pretty painless, and she was able to return home after just a few hours. When she came home, she cried and cried and cried. She says she feels like a huge weight had been lifted, and she can finally look to moving on with her life. We took the whole week of work, and yesterday we went camping. It rained. While in the tent, she talked about how difficult life was sometimes, but she was really glad things turned out the way they did, because even though things were bad, she came out the other side, probably stronger than before. She's amazing, man. Seriously. Update on the mom. So my GF received a call from her mom, who was asking if she went through with the uninstallation. My GF and I have an agreement that if mom calls, either hang up or give it to me. In this instance, she answered, didn't know what to say, and gave it to me. I told the mom that the uninstallation went perfectly and smiled as she cursed at me for about a minute. I then said, "How Jesus of you," at which point she hung up. My GF didn't find it funny. Update 4. I wasn't planning to post again so soon, but after what happened last night, I think I have no choice but to share. Last night, GF and I were at home, still decompressing from the camping trip and just trying to take it easy. Things had been peaceful, for once. The rain during camping was kind of symbolic in a way, like washing away all the chaos we've been dealing with. Out of nowhere, we hear a knock on the door. We weren't expecting anyone, so naturally, we both tense up. I go to answer it, and who is standing there but her mom? In the flesh. Uninvited. Unannounced. The absolute audacity. She barges in like she owns the place, doesn't even ask to come inside, just storms past me straight to the living room, looking at GF like she's just committed a war crime. I couldn't believe what was happening. I mean, we'd told her to stay away. We'd blocked her calls, and here she was, dragging all her self-righteous fury into our space. She starts screaming at GF like full-on, veins popping out of her neck, screaming about how she's doomed her soul, how she's thrown away her blessing, and now she's going to rot in hell for all eternity. You'd think she was reading straight from the damn book of Revelations with how dramatic she was being. At first, GF just sat there frozen, but then something changed. I've never seen her like this before. She stands up, walks right up to her mother, and with the calmest voice I've ever heard from her, she says, "I don't need your approval. Not anymore. You're not my mother. You're just someone I used to know." I swear, you could have heard a pin drop. Her mother just stood there for a second, completely gobsmacked. I think she realized, in that moment, she had officially lost her grip on GF. Then, like a switch flipped, she lunges at GF, trying to grab her arm, and starts screaming that she's being brainwashed by me, that I'm some kind of evil influence, and that GF would come to her senses if I wasn't in the picture. I lost it. I mean, who the hell does she think she is? I pulled her away and told her to get out before I called the police again. I don't know if she thought I was bluffing, but when I picked up my phone, she finally stormed out, screaming the whole way down the hallway about how she was going to save GF. But here's where it gets really crazy. About an hour later, we get a knock on the door again. I'm thinking, no way she came back, right? Wrong. It wasn't her. It was her brother. The same brother who hadn't said 2 words to GF since the whole thing started. He's standing there, looking all solemn, like he's about to deliver some big revelation. "I just came to talk," he says, all calm and collected. Now, I'm not exactly in the mood for a heart-to-heart after the literal hellstorm we just went through, but GF gives me this look, and we let him in. Long story short, he tells us their mother has been spinning all these wild stories to the whole family, painting GF as some kind of lost soul under my control. Apparently, she's been telling people we're involved in some kind of cult. Yeah, you read that right, a cult? And that GF's uninstallation was part of some ritual. I'm sitting there, stunned, like, is this real life right now? The brother, to his credit, seemed genuinely worried for GF, but not in the psycho-religious way their mom was. He was more concerned about how she was dealing with everything, said he hadn't heard her side of the story and just wanted to check in. I could tell GF was hesitant to open up, but she gave him the rundown everything. The essay, the pregnancy, the uninstallation, the harassment from their mom. The whole truth. When she finished, there was this long silence. And then, he just said, "I didn't know." He looked at her, really looked at her, and apologized. It was weird because it felt sincere, but at the same time, it felt like something bigger was coming. And then he drops this bomb. Mom's planning on taking legal action. She's apparently trying to get GF declared mentally unstable to, get this, save her from herself? What the actual hell? GF went pale. I went straight to fury. I told her brother that if her mom even thinks about trying something like that, we'll get a lawyer so fast it'll make her head spin. I can't even believe this is the level of madness we're dealing with now. How is any of this real? The brother said he'd try to talk her down, but I'm not holding my breath. It's like their mom is on this deranged holy mission to redeem GF, and nothing's off the table. I'm talking manipulation, lies, and now apparently legal warfare. Update 5. After my last update, GF and I were pretty much waiting for the other shoe to drop. Her mother had gone full-blown zealot, and her brother's warning about possible legal action was hanging over us like a storm cloud. We didn't know what to expect, but I figured we'd at least get a little time to breathe, to figure out our next move. I should have known better. 2 days ago, we got served court papers. Yep, her mother actually followed through. She's trying to get GF declared mentally unfit and filed for something called a conservatorship basically, where she gets control of all of GF's decisions, including healthcare. We were both in shock. I mean, who does that to their own daughter? I could tell GF was holding it together on the outside. But the second the server left, she broke down. It was like every bit of strength she'd mustered to keep going just shattered. We were staring down the barrel of a legal battle, and I could feel the weight of everything she's been through as the uninstallation, the constant harassment crushing her all at once. But here's the thing. I wasn't going to let that happen. Not after everything. Not after she'd fought tooth and nail to rebuild her life. So, I did what any sane person in an insane situation would do. I called a lawyer. And not just any lawyer. I called a guy I know from back in the day, this no-nonsense, take-no-prisoners type who specializes in family law. Let's call him Greg. Greg doesn't mess around. When I told him the situation, he laughed. Actually laughed. He told me that what GF's mother was trying to pull was next-level crazy, and that we had every legal leg to stand on. So, within 24 hours, we were in full prep mode for the fight of our lives. Meanwhile, GF's brother called. He said he had no idea their mother had actually filed court papers and that he was disgusted with her. Said he wanted nothing to do with it and was officially cutting ties with their mom. I could hear the guilt in his voice, like he felt somehow responsible for not stopping this sooner. But honestly, I didn't care. All I cared about was keeping GF safe from this toxic hellhole of a family. Fast forward to yesterday. We were gearing up for a meeting with our lawyer when the unthinkable happened. We got a call from the hospital. GF's mother had been in a car accident. At first, it didn't seem real. It was like the universe had just hit pause on everything. We didn't have all the details, just that it was serious, and she was in critical condition. GF went silent. I couldn't even imagine what was going through her head. This woman who had tormented her for months, who had tried to control every aspect of her life, was suddenly teetering between life and death. I asked her if she wanted to go to the hospital. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect. I thought she might feel some twisted sense of relief, but instead, she just nodded. So we went. When we got there, it was surreal. The family people I'd only heard about in passing were there. Her brother, a couple of distant cousins. All of them looked shell-shocked, and the tension in the air was suffocating. They barely acknowledged us when we arrived. We were just there. GF's mother was in a coma. The doctors didn't know if she was going to make it. Apparently, she had been speeding on her way to file more paperwork for the court case when she lost control and slammed into a tree. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. GF stood at the foot of her mother's bed, staring at the tubes and machines keeping her alive. I didn't say anything. What could I say? This woman had made her life hell, but here she was, frail and powerless, lying in a hospital bed, clinging to life. It was like watching a storm that had raged for months suddenly go quiet. Then, GF did something I never expected. She leaned down, whispered something to her mother, something I couldn't hear, and then turned to me. Her eyes were dry, no tears, no breakdown, just clarity. She took my hand and said, "Let's go." And that was it. We left the hospital without looking back. In the car, GF told me that she forgave her mother. Not for her mother's sake, but for hers. "I need to let her go," she said, her voice steady but soft. "She doesn't control me anymore, and she never will again." It was like something had shifted in her, like the weight of everything she'd been carrying was finally lifting. She wasn't angry. She wasn't sad. She was free. We haven't heard anything about her mother's condition since, and honestly, I don't think we will. GF made it clear that she doesn't want to be part of that family anymore, and I respect that. The court case has been dropped, no surprise there, given the circumstances. We're moving forward now, together.